Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mishpat Paramahansa Purudikacharya. Jai ISKCON BBD founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Om Mishpat Paramahansa Purudikacharya. Stotar the Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Kanturaj srimadbhagavatam ki Jai. The Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Can you close that door? We don't need 20 cool. Thank you. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance and classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in the best of songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Do you know how to turn this up? Can you? Because he has messed up. Just, you know where it is, the one on the far right? Tighten, slightly. I got to reach it into the back of the pond, for thousands of people. I'm sorry? It's a photo. Hare Krishna. Little more? No. Did you try it? Try it a little more. Up. All the way on the right. Hare Bol. That's good. Thank you, Prabhu. So we did Om Namo. Did we do Om Namo? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 7th day of September 2018 in SanDiego, a reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in the 4th canto entitled The Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 6, Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. Text number 8. Sa ittamadishya surana jastutai samanvita pitrubisa prajeshai yaya swadishnan nilayam pura dvija Kailasamadri pravadam priyam prabho. Sa ittamadishya surana jastutai samanvitak pitrubisa prajeshai yaya sudishyan nilayam puradvisha Kailasamadri pravadam priyam prabho. Sa ittamadishya surana jastutai samanvita pitrubisa prajeshai yaya swadishnan nilayam puradvisha Kailasamadri pravadam priyam prabho. Sa ittamadishya surana jastutai samanvita pitrubisa prajeshai yaya swadishnan nilayam puradvisha Kailasamadri pravadam priyam prabho. Sa ittamadishya surana jastutai samanvita pitrubisa prajeshai yaya swadishnan nilayam puradvisha Kailasamadri pravadam priyam prabho. Saha, he Brahma, ittam, thus, adishya, after instructing, suran, the demigods, ajaha, Lord Brahma, two, then, tai, those, samanvitaha, followed, pitrubhihi, by the pitas, saprajeshai, along with the lords of the living entities. Yayao went, swadishnyat, from his own place, nilayam, the abode, puradvishaha, of Lord Shiva. Kailasam, Kailasa. Adri Pravaram, the best among mountains. Priyam, dear. Prabhu, of the Lord Shiva. Translation. After thus instructing all the demigods, the Pitas, and the lords of the living entities, Lord Brahma took them with him and left for the abode of Lord Shiva, known as the Kailas hill. Purport. The abode of Lord Shiva, which is known as Kailas, is described in the 14 verses which follow, which we're all going to read. We're going to read all of them. Let's do, I'll do one more. Sanskrit, which you can repeat. You have it. Janmaushadita po mantra Yoga siddhaya naretarai Jushtam kinnada gandharvaya. He's an Indian, he doesn't need that. Apsarobhir Vitam Sada. The abode known as Kailas is full of different herbs and vegetables, and it is sanctified by Vedic hymns and mystic yoga practice. Thus the residents of that abode are demigods by birth and have all mystic powers. Besides them, there are other human beings who are known as Kinnaras and Gandharvas, and are accompanied by their beautiful wives, who are known as Apsaras, or angels. Kailas is full of mountains, filled with all kinds of valuable jewels and minerals, and surrounded by all varieties of valuable trees and plants. The top of the hill is nicely decorated by various types of deer. There are many waterfalls, and in the mountains there are many beautiful caves in which the very beautiful wives of the mystics are found. On Kailas hill, there is always the rhythmical sound of the peacock's sweet vibrations and the bees humming. Cuckoos are always singing, and other birds whisper amongst themselves. There are tall trees with straight branches that appear to call the sweet birds, and when the herds of elephants pass through the hills, it appears that the Kailas hill moves with them. When the waterfalls resound, it appears that Kailas hill does also. The whole of Kailas hill is decorated with various kinds of trees, of which the following names may be mentioned: Mandara, Parijata, Salala, Tamala, Tala, Kobedar, Asana, Arjun, Amrajati, that's the mango, Kadamba, Duli Kadamba, Naga, Punnaga, Champak, Patala, Ashoka, Bakula, Kunda, and Kurabaka. The entire hill is decorated with such trees, which produce flowers with fragrant aromas. There are other trees also which decorate the hill, such as the golden lotus flower, the cinnamon tree, Malati, Kubja, Mallika, and Madhavi. Kailas hill is also decorated with such trees as the Kata, jackfruit, Jula, banyan trees, Plakshas, Nyagrodas, and trees producing asafoetida. Also there are trees of betel nuts and Burji Patra, as well as Rajapuga, blackberries, and similar other trees. There are mango trees, Piyala, Maduka, and Inguda. Besides these, there are other trees like the thin bamboos, the Kichika, and varieties of other bamboo trees, all decorating the tract of Kailas hill. There are different kinds of lotus flowers, such as the Kumada, Utpala, and Shatapatra. The forest appears to be a decorated garden, and the small lakes are full of various kinds of birds who whisper very sweetly. There are many kinds of other animals also, like deer, monkeys, boars, lions, rikshas, shalyakas, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deer, buffalo, and many other animals who are fully enjoying their lives. There are varieties of deer, such as Karnantra, Ekapad, Ashvasya, Drika, and Kasturi, the deer which bears musk. Besides the deer, there are many banana trees which decorate the small hillside lakes very nicely. There is a small lake named Alakananda in which Sati used to take her bath, and that lake is especially auspicious. All the demigods, after seeing the specific beauty of Kailas hill, were struck with wonder at the great opulence to be found there. Purport. According to the commentary called the Sri Bhagavat Chandrika, the water in which Sati used to bathe was Ganges water. In other words, the Ganges flowed through the Kailas Parvat. Parvat means mountain. There is every possibility of accepting such a statement because Ganges water also flows from the hair of Lord Shiva. Since Ganges water rests on the head of Lord Shiva and then flows to the other parts of the universe, it is quite possible that the water in which Sati bathed was certainly very nicely, which was certainly very nicely scented, was Ganges water. Moving on. Thus the demigod saw the wonderfully beautiful region known as Alaka in the forest known as Sugandhika. Means it's very fragrant. Which means full of fragrance. I'm sorry. I said that before I read that. I swear, I hadn't read it. Known as Sugandhika, which means full of fragrance. The forest is known as Sugandhika because of its abundance of lotus flowers. Purport. Sometimes Alaka is known as Alaka Puri, which is also the name of the abode of Kuvera. Kuvera's abode, however, cannot be seen from Kailas. Therefore, the region of Alaka referred to here is different from the Alaka Puri of Kuvera. According to the Viraraghava Acharya, one of the commentators, Alaka means uncommonly beautiful. In the region of Alaka, the demigod saw there is a type of lotus flower known as Sugandhika that distributes an especially fragrant scent. They also saw the two rivers named Nanda and Alakananda. These two rivers are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. My dear Chatta Vidura, so Maitreya has been speaking all this. My dear Chatta Vidura, the celestial damsels come down to those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and after sexual enjoyment they enter the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water. Purport. It is understood that even the damsels of the heavenly planets are polluted by thoughts of sex enjoyment, and therefore they come in airplanes to bathe in the rivers Nanda and Alakananda. It is significant that these rivers, Nanda and Alakananda, are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, just as the Ganges is sacred because its water emanates from the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, so whenever water or anything is in touch with devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is purified and spiritualized. The rules and regulations of devotional service are based on this principle. Anything in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord is immediately freed from all material contamination. The damsels of the heavenly planets, polluted by thoughts of sex life, come down to bathe in the sanctified rivers and enjoy sprinkling water on their husbands. Two words are very significant in this connection. Rati Karshita means that the damsels become morose after sexual enjoyment. Although they accept sex enjoyment as a bodily demand, afterwards they are not happy. Another significant point is that Lord Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is described here as Tirthapad. Tirtha means sanctified place, and Pada means the lotus feet of the Lord. People go to a sanctified place to free themselves from all sinful reactions. In other words, those who are devoted to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, automatically become sanctified. The Lord's lotus feet are called Tirthapad because under their protection there are hundreds and thousands of saintly persons who sanctify the sacred places of pilgrimage. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, a great acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, advises us not to travel to different places of pilgrimage. Undoubtedly it is troublesome to go from one place to another, but one who is intelligent can take shelter of the lotus feet of Govinda and thereby be automatically sanctified as the result of his pilgrimage. Anyone who is fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is called a Tirthapad. He does not need to travel to various pilgrimages, for he can enjoy all the benefits of such travel simply by engaging in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a pure devotee who has implicit faith in the lotus feet of the Lord can create sacred places in any part of the world where he decides to remain. Tirti kurvanti tirtani, Bhagavatam 1.13.10. The places are sanctified due to the presence of pure devotees. Any place automatically becomes a place of pilgrimage if either the Lord or his pure devotee remains or resides there. In other words, such a pure devotee who is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord can remain anywhere in the universe, and that part of the universe immediately becomes a sacred place where he can peacefully render service to the Lord as the Lord desires. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him or all members of Sri Parampara. So, we have a nice description there of Kailas Mountain, where Lord Shiva resides. And it's very idyllic, all different kinds of trees, fragrant flowers, nice fruits, animals like deer and others. So that's where Shiva resides and meditates. Now here it mentions that, first of all, this idea of coming down and being polluted by sex desire. People want to go to heaven because they can enjoy more there. Longer life with a full health, young body, everything very idyllic, as we're just hearing about in Kailas Mountain. And Kailas Mountain, as far as I know, is not really in heaven. Right? Is there a Kailas Mountain there in the Himalayas somewhere? Yeah. So this is the damsels of heavenly planets. Now, I was just reading today how Lord Brahma wants to become a human being so that he can better advance in devotional service. Lord Brahma. I read that. I just read it this morning in the third canto, earlier in the third canto, or back in the 15th chapter, I believe it was. Now, why is that? Well, one of the problems, as I mentioned before, first of all, is that it's so idyllic up there in the heavenly planets that you don't feel the impetus, the urgency of getting out of the material world. You don't feel the urgency. One of the things that is the main impetus, really, for people taking up devotional service is usually the desire to get free from the bondages of birth and death. When they have that Kumbh Mela, isn't it that millions and millions of people come to the confluence of Allahabad? And is most of them thinking, there were many of them thinking that, oh, I'll take bath at the proper time in the confluence and I'll get liberated, right? You have old ladies coming, right? You try to So what is that? People who understand the basics, chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, understand that the soul is transmigrating round and round and round. They may not know so much about the intricacies of devotional service, but they know they want to get out from the miseries of this world. And it's understood that, if we just take bath at the proper time in the proper place, then we'll get liberated. So this is a basic human impetus for activity, in spiritual activity, because it's clear. Lesson 2 of the Bhagavad Gita is that chapter 3 is that if you're greedy for the fruits, enjoying the fruits of your activity, as karma yoga, that will bind you to this world. Yagyartat kamanonyater lokoyam karma bandhana. Unless you're sacrificing your work, the fruits of your work, for a yajna, which is another name for Vishnu, your work will bind you, because you're working for some fruit of result, and you want to enjoy that result, and that plants an idea in your mind of enjoying it again and again, the same thing. And so, when at the time of death, that mind, which is karmatmakam, it's called, will take you into another material body. So, so here in this material world, if you're able to work very hard and sacrifice and go to the heavenly planets, then it's so naturally enjoyable that you won't feel the urgency of sacrifice and the urgency of discipline in order to develop the mentality to actually get out of this material world. So that's why they keep calling it, they're polluted by thoughts of sex enjoyment. Polluted. That's the main binding force here. Now, even though that's so, when they bathe in these rivers, Nanda and Nalakananda, they're sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality. So that's auspicious for them. Just as the Ganges is sacred. You learn that, I remember the first time I went to Mayapur, you learn how potent the Ganges is for giving liberation. Why? Because it's when it comes into this world, when Vamana, they've expanded himself. He got his charity from Bali. He tricked him. He was disguised as a little brahmachari. And so then he asked for some charity. And Bali Maharaj, who was born in a family of demons, just like Prahlad, but inside he was a great devotee. He wanted to offer, what do you want? I'll give you anything. You want a planet? He was very generous. So little so-called dwarf Brahmin, I hate that word dwarf. In English it has a connotation of misshapen too. But there it is. Midget Brahmin. he said, no, if I'm not satisfied with these three steps of land, then I won't be satisfied with anything. In other words, as a Brahmin, he's meant to be austere and satisfied with little. So he's made that argument. It's okay, you can have 3 steps of land. But Shukracharya, Bali's guru, said, don't do it. He's Vishnu. He'll take everything. He can see the future. And so Bali, he became Bali Maharaj. He became a Mahajan at that moment when he rejected his materialistic guru and was determined to fulfill his vow, his promise to give this charity to Vamana. And sure enough, Vamana expanded. With one step, he covered the whole universe. With another step, he pierced with one step he covered the earth, another step he covered the universe, the third step he pierced the universal covering, and the water of the causal ocean leaked in. And those drops of the causal ocean, which is spiritual water, became the Ganges. But it was his foot, so that it washed his feet of the dust. So now it's full of the dust of the Lord. Yeah. Is there any 8th canto? So the Ganges is understood to be purifying, and it's also even medically purifying. You know, there are certain very antiseptic qualities in the Ganges which the scientists can't explain. So that's mentioned here for the same thing is there for Nanda and Alakananda. Prabhupada describes that. So then he introduces this word. Now he says Ratikarshita. Ratikarshita. That they're polluted by thoughts of sex life. They enjoy sex life, and then they're Ratikarshita means that they're morose after sex enjoyment. So in other words, no amount of material sense gratification. And here they're enjoying sex not on this earth but in the heavenly planets, you know. But they're morose because it has a beginning and an end, and no material sense pleasure can actually meet your expectations because the living entity is trying to get to the point of ananda, of real spiritual bliss, but you're engaging in sense gratification, which is just a shadow of it. It's just a reflection. And so the more that you try to engage in sense gratification, the more morose you become. Because everything, the senses become burned out, become jaded. Just like the drug addict. You know, everyone knows you take a drug and after a while you need more of the drug to get to the same place. And the drug is destroying your brain. So that now instead of pleasure you have constant pain, and the drug just has to be there just to bring you up to the point of toleration. That's sense gratification. It burns you out and brings you back again to suffer the same thing. So that's why the first step in any yoga process is controlling the senses. Tasmat tvam indriyanyado niyamya bharatarshava. That's exactly what I said in Sanskrit. Therefore, in the beginning, Arjuna, control the senses and conquer this enemy known as lust, as kama. So that's what's happening here. The damsels are unhappy. But then Prabhupada talks about how so Lord Govinda himself is described as Tirthapad. So Tirthapad means a sanctified place, and Pada means the lotus feet. So the lotus feet of the Lord are the original sanctified place. Wherever they are, it's certainly sanctified. That's why when you have a temple like this, where you actually install the deities nicely, the lotus feet of the Lord are there. And that means the devotees are there. And devotees keep the place sanctified, clean, and it becomes a place of pilgrimage. It's like this is a local place of pilgrimage. So how does that happen? The moving place of pilgrimage, the acharya, creates them wherever he goes. And especially a great preacher like Srila Prabhupada, at great effort this temple was established, and now it's been maintained for almost 40 years. 40 years now. And hopefully it'll go on, you know, as a sanctified place of pilgrimage. These places can also get covered over by time, by the vicissitudes of the history, and then the Lord withdraws from there. So that maintaining our responsibility, maintain this place as a place where people want to come, where it has the atmosphere, just like the whole thing of this Kailas Hill was the atmosphere, right? And the atmosphere of Vaikuntha, and attract people. and also uplift ourselves. So now, interestingly enough, Narottam Das says he advises us not to travel to different places of pilgrimage. Narottam Das here. What he's saying there is that if you're Krishna conscious and you have association of devotees, then you make your own place a place of pilgrimage. Sometimes the trouble of going to the place of pilgrimage and coming back and maintaining yourself there can be, if you're not in the proper consciousness, can just be a big distraction. You know, especially you go and it's a long flight or something, and you're in anxiety. Yes, see if you can close that. So it's you find that you get unregulated there. It doesn't have to be like that, but that's what Narottam Das is saying. I think what he's saying there is, don't ignore the necessity of making your home a place of pilgrimage, of being strong in Krishna consciousness wherever you are. So that has to be there. Undoubtedly, it's troublesome to go from one place to another, but one who is intelligent can take shelter of the lotus feet of Govinda and thereby be automatically sanctified as a result of his pilgrimage. So, the lotus feet of Govinda are really the place of pilgrimage, and you can do that anywhere. Okay. So the tirthapad, the lotus feet. Those lotus feet are actually the place of pilgrimage. And here Prabhupada is saying, you can remember them and serve them anywhere, and thus you yourself become a place of pilgrimage, create places of pilgrimage. And he quotes this line, famous line from the first canto, Tirti kurvanti tirtani. Let's see, we have the reference here. This is, I think they're praising Sutta Goswami. No. Yeah. Let me see. Oh no, Maharaj, this is Yudhishthira praising Vidura, who is just coming back now to Hastinapur after going on pilgrimage. The war had been won, and he comes back, and Maharaj Yudhishthira is greeting him. And Vidura, of course, was a great devotee, and he'd already met with Uddhava, and he'd spoken to Maitreya. What we're hearing now, he'd already done. We're going to be explaining a flashback. Bhavad Vada Bhagavatas, my Lord, Vidura, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. Because you carry the personality of God within your heart, you turn all places into places of pilgrimage. So I'm going to read this little purport because it's very pertinent to what we just read about Tirthapad. The personality of Godhead is omnipresent by his diverse potencies everywhere, just as the power of electricity is distributed everywhere within space. Similarly, the Lord's omnipresence is perceived and manifested by his unalloyed devotees like Vidura, just as electricity is manifested in an electric bulb. And we can see that with Prabhupada. Before that, the Lower East Side was just the Lower East Side. It was just a, dirty part of the New York City. But when Prabhupada came there, and by his efforts, by preaching, especially by chanting, he made a little corner of it very sanctified and like that, just like electricity. A pure devotee like Vidura always feels the presence of the Lord everywhere. He sees everything in the potency of the Lord, and the Lord in everything. The holy places all over the earth are meant for purifying the polluted consciousness of the human being by an atmosphere surcharged with the presence of the Lord's unalloyed devotees. If anyone visits a holy place, he must search out the pure devotees residing in such holy places, take lessons from them, try to apply such instructions in practical life, and thus gradually prepare oneself for the ultimate salvation, going back to Godhead. To go to some holy place of pilgrimage does not mean only to take a bath in the Ganges or Yamuna, or to visit the temples situated in those places. One should also find representatives of Vidura who have no desire in life save and except to serve the Lord. The Lord is always with such pure devotees because of their unalloyed service, which is without any tinge of fruitive action or utopian speculation. They are in the actual service of the Lord specifically by the process of hearing and chanting. The pure devotees hear from the authorities and chant, sing and write of the glories of the Lord. Mahamuni Vyasadeva heard from Narada, and then he chanted in writing. Shukadeva Goswami studied from his father, and he described it to Parikshit. That is the way of Srimad Bhagavatam. So by their actions, the pure devotees of the Lord can render any place into a place of pilgrimage, and the holy places are worth the name only on their account. Such pure devotees are able to rectify the polluted atmosphere of any place, and what to speak of a holy place rendered unholy by the questionable actions of interested persons who try to adopt a professional life at the cost of the reputation of a holy place. Probably puts an interesting footnote at the end of the purport. This is 1:13:10. Okay? Bhagavad Bhagavatas. So, here is how the preaching movement goes on. This is the essence of the preaching. Is by you come in contact with a devotee, you become purified by chanting and hearing and serving and reading, and then you also become an influence upon others wherever you go. And when devotees gather and they establish a temple where the Lord manifests in the Archa Vigraha like that, then it becomes a magnet for people who are interested, where they can come, associate with devotees, chant the holy name, take prasad, see the deity, and hear. And also, now of course, take books. And in this way, this electricity of the spiritual energy is manifested and transmitted. But it's a constant effort to do that, as Krishna says, Sahevaya Maya Teja Yoga, no. Evam parampara praptam imam rajasya yobudu sakale nemanta yoga nashtak parantava. By the force of time, he says, this yoga, bhakti yoga, has been destroyed, and so I'm speaking the same thing to you. This is the beginning of the 4th chapter of Gita. So time, it covers everything. It eventually Lord Shiva destroys everything, and there's no more holy places. There's no places at all. It's just merged into Mahavishnu. So, but in the meantime, Krishna, he establishes by his effort, in order to deliver as many souls as are willing, he establishes holy places by enacting his pastimes and leaving his representatives to establish temples, and wherever he enacts his pastimes, that's a Leela Stan. It's like Vrindavan, Mathura, Jagannath Puri, Mayapur. So these places are automatically sanctified, and you go there and you can practically feel the energy, the spiritual energy. And then when great devotees like Prabhupada, by great effort, they establish buildings there, temples like this Advaita Manda that's going up. You know, you read the history, how difficult it was to get the land, in not only in Bombay, but also Mayapur. There was a struggle there, they didn't want to sell. But it's by the presence of the devotees, of the followers of the pure devotee, it remains sanctified and becomes a great beacon for the benighted souls of this age. Just like it is said, what is that? Krishne swadhamo pagate dharma jnana devi saha kalau nashta dishamesha puranako danodita. That kalau nashta disham, that this age of Kali blinds people. People become even more kalau nashta disham, their vision has been destroyed. So Krishna came in the previous yuga, and he was Dharma and Gyan personified, religion and knowledge personified. He was a force for reinstituting Dharma, as he says right in the Bhagavad Gita, right? And the light, Bhagavad Gita was spoken, and Bhagavatam, you know, Vyasadeva is also an incarnation. He spoke Uddhava Gita. So as long as Krishna is on the planet, he is, you know, very, very powerful influence for good, as we know. But then he eventually left, after only 125 years. So then the question was, who is maintaining now? Where is this Dharma and Gyan? What is the influence? And the answer is the Bhagavatam has arisen just like the sun to give vision for this benighted people of this age. So that, and Lord Chaitanya came to fulfill the mission of Bhagavatam. And he saw it as, you know, perfectly embodying all of the Vedic teachings, the spiritual teachings, the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta means the end of all knowledge. And so that we're really following Krishna in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is perfectly suitable for this age. The process of chanting Hare Krishna is so easy, so joyful. But still, the basic of the philosophy and the effort to establish outposts throughout the world. When Lord Chaitanya said, "My name will be chanted in all towns and villages. It's not just to be chanted once and then forgotten, but established places where the chanting will go on and be propagated from. And we see that happening also. All right, so we covered a lot of ground there, and let me tell you what verse we are on now. 26. Quite a reading. 26. Any questions or comments? All right. Oh, I wanted to read one thing, because we're reading all of this about Lord Shiva, and we've gotten this vision of him as very placid and self-controlled. He didn't react to all of the insults at first, but then he became furious when Sati was self-immolated, and he created or manifested Virabhadra and so forth. And now we're hearing real glories of him from Brahma. So there's one prayer, there's actually two, from the Urdhvamnaya Tantra. You know which one I'm referring to? The Radha Kripakataksha Stavara. And I wanted to find that for you. Let's see. Here, I'll just give you a sample, and this is a whole other side of Shiva that we're not seeing here, and that is, I'll just read a few of the ones. There's 8 verses about Krishna, and this is known as Sri Krishna Kripakataksha Stotram, petition for the sidelong glance of Krishna, a poetic prayer chanted by Lord Shiva in the Urdhvamnaya Tantra. So this goes with it. There's one to Radharani and one to Krishna, and it says that if you chant them both early in the morning, then you go back to guided and you get your original position as a servant of Radharani. So it goes like this. Pajeva Jaika Mandanam Samasta Papa Kandanam Sabhakta Chitta Ranjanam Sadaiva Nandanandanam Supritya Gucha Masakam Sunaravenu Hastakam Anangadanga Sagadam Namami Krishna Nagadam. So this is Shiva chanting this, and what he says is, I always worship Nanda's son, who is the unique ornament of Braja, who smashes everyone's sins, who pleases the hearts of his devotees, whose head is adorned with a nice peacock plume, who holds a sweet-sounding flute, who is an ocean of amorous dalliances. I bow to Krishna, the supreme paramour. And it goes on in that one. My favorite one is over here, where he says, Gunakadam Sukakadam Kripakadam Shupakadam Swayasaka Pradhayakam Namami Premanayakam Samasta Dosha Shoshanam Samasta Bhakta Toshanam Samasta Dasa Manasam Namami Krishna Lalasam. I bow to Krishna, who is the abode of all good qualities, all happiness, all mercy, and all auspiciousness. O Lord, you are the giver of joy. I bow to the Lord of love, who absorbs everyone's faults, who pleases all the devotees, who remains in all his servants' minds, and who is eager for fun. So it goes on like there's 8. If you want this, I can give it to you. But I have no synonyms for it, but you can kind of understand. And then there's a Palashruti here. The result of chanting both this one and the Sri Sri Radha Kripakataksha Stavaraj, the king of all Rajas, which is an appeal to, a king of all Stavas, which is an appeal to Srimati Radharani, again from the Urdhvamnaya Tantra. And here's the Palashruti for both of them. One who rises early in the morning and recites these 2 authoritative prayers, Radha Kripakataksha Stavaraj and Krishna Kripakataksha Stotram, attains his appropriate mercy by becoming a beautiful young girl among the assembly of dear gopis, absorbed in the sweetness of the secret forest bowers, a post cherished even by the goddess of fortune. Such a soul certainly meets Nanda Nandana face to face and remains permanently situated in ecstatic, loving emotions. Not bad. What other pala do you want? The ultimate pala. So that's Lord Shiva. He composed them all. So that's another side of Lord Shiva. All glories to Shiva.